could you could speak with a mouthful of marbles underwater?
Look, yeah, if I'm forced to. I just I'm nervous about speaking about other people. I've just got to be careful. I can, telling stories. I've got to be careful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just get on to the business side of it.
Yeah.
So today we're chatting with James Kelly from Zupply, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
It's supply. Like, I'm seeing a lot of it. I'm seeing your branding everywhere, and I really wanted to just have a chat today and learn a little bit more about the software and about the business and where the idea came from. And, I've got all these questions. So tell us a little bit about James Kelly. Like, what's your story?
Sure. Look, bit of a misspent youth, bit lost at, in my late teens, early 20s, and just got straight into the workforce. Ended up at a place called Matt Brown's Greens in Sydney. He was a leading wholesaler to the leading restaurants, the turn of the century type thing in 2000s. Sydney food scene was really taking off. You got your rock pools were just starting to get their hats. Tetsuya was taking the world by storm. You had Bon Ricordo, Claude's, and we'd spend the attention to detail that we do in the picking there. There'd be 10 team members picking out the size of the chives for Tetsuya every morning. The ripeness of tomatoes were a daily task. And then things like morel mushrooms arriving from, Tasmania. Like, I'd never seen a morel mushroom in my life. I shouldn't say this.
What's a morel mushroom? Explain that so that
it's like a real honeycombed top. It's got real traditional looking mushroom, not your usual toad things that we get, the button mushroom. So it was, and got a really chestnutty flavor, and just like rubbery to feel. And so, he'd get in 2 trays of those, and I'd be sneaking out 4 of them in my pocket to go home and fry in butter. And it was just the most delicious thing I'd ever tasted,
What's the flavor profile like?
Yeah, the nutty and just mushroomy. If I'd, a real beautiful,
real earthy.
Yeah, delicious. So look, we worked a couple of years there, and just, once you see a couple of seasons in a fruit and veg industry, and maybe I always had that little bit of green thumb in me, and I really enjoyed it. So I really enjoyed working with the produce, working with teams, high energy. It suited me. I was a quick driver, I was a quick packer. Maybe my attention to detail was always a bit lacking, but there was management in place to manage that. But look, soon within that space, soon I ended up upstairs putting invoices in, because probably I was the only one that was literate enough to kind of enter them. And there was, upstairs in that office, there was 2 tape decks. So restaurants would ring up and it'd be on recorded tape, and you'd be playing back, rewind, play, rewind, play, getting the orders off the machines every night. And then we'd have a sheet that'd have all the products on it, and you'd go, 1 bok choy, 1 choy sum, and I just think, God, there's got to be a better way. So look, that was back in, the early 2000s. And from there, stayed in the industry, moved around a bit, and then had the opportunity to create my own wholesale business. Did that in about 2007 and had that till about 2013, and had a business partner that we worked well together. We grew the business well, had some big clients like the Nick Seafood groups, the Gallagher Hotel groups, the boat houses, and, really attention to detail on, our customer group. But just always niggling was, how can we do this better? And then, I was actually out on a boat with my brother-in-law, and he's in asbestos. He removes asbestos. And he said he just introduced a software solution to manage all his teams and invoicing and to manage, where people are on site and their OH&S, and it was integrated straight into Xero. And he said it just changed his business straight away. He had some, some management in there, or some operating control points that could, really scale his business. And I went, well, if that's the case, so I could do that. So I reached out to app developers, so I'm in an app develop. I've never developed anything.
I was gonna say, like, you make it sound so easy, but I'm sure that if you haven't come from a tech background, it would have been pretty intimidating, right?
Well, yeah, I couldn't understand why they couldn't understand what I was talking about. So so there was a bit of a learning curve, and still on that learning curve, Vanessa, starting to get a bit of a grip for it now. And tech isn't just what you see on the interface. It's a full business behind it. You got to have the people in the right place. You got to have the right people. You got to wireframe. You got to really think about the user experience and what you're doing this for. And so it really complemented my work experience in making sure, because I like to do things regularly. I like to do them the same way, so mistakes don't happen. We do it for this way, like in a kitchen. You do things. You're behind chef. Yes, chef. There's the reason we do things is because it's the fastest, most efficient and safest way to do it. So, so look, got through that, built an app that was integrated with Xero, and rolled that out across that customer base of my wholesale business. And
what year was this?
2010.
Okay, so that was quite early. I mean, how did customers, what was their sentiment? Did they gravitate towards it, or were they still a little bit behind the eight ball with technology?
No one wanted to know about it. Like, I prefer just to ring up. It's just quicker for me to ring up, and it's like, well, mate, you ring up, you're half drunk. It's 3 hours after you've closed. You've forgotten to place your order. You're yelling and screaming in the phone. I'm sitting there waiting for you to place your order. I just, hurry up, please. And so those conversations with chefs try and say, because realistically, I wanted to streamline my business. So I was quite, and so you'd have conversations and you'd work on them and then a reason to come up. Well, you can get the price live on the app, mate. Or, if you ordered on the app, you'd see that you didn't order the zucchinis. So that's why they're not on your order. A bit of traceability and some ownership there. So they were tough.
Yeah,
tough times. Yeah.
It's so interesting, because it has to be the one area of food service or hospitality that absolutely frustrates the hell out of me, is the fact that within businesses, the way that they run their procurement, and I'm generally speaking, I mean, there's businesses that obviously do it really, really well, but in my past life, we used to have a answering machine like you were talking about before as well. And we'd get chefs ringing up, leaving messages saying, just send me the same as what you sent yesterday. Oh, well, like, hello, who are you? Where are you from? And, and it's all money. It all generates back to being money, doesn't it? Because if you don't know who that chef is and they ring up the rep during the day and say, well, I put my order in, where's my delivery? And it's like, well, you go back and you listen to the tape, but you can't put it all back on the customer. We ended up unplugging our answering machine for that reason.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then even the skill set to understand, what they're saying is, how can I ever train someone to take this role off me so I can move over here into the business? And so scaling the business, how do you scale it when it's so labor intensive?
So true, James. That's such a good point. Like, scaling your business. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like you got to put, you got to train up, you got to be patient with people, and you've got to, if you want the right result, it's what you put in, isn't it? With your staff, with anything, it's what you put in. And sometimes, I look at some of my wholesalers that have been wholesalers for 30 years and, especially now, they've got no staff and then they've got to bring staff on. And I'm like, how do you have the patience after 30 years to keep training a new person the same thing every 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is? Wow. That's patience I don't have. And so
it's actually risk mitigation as well. Like, if you're relying on one person and they're calling in sick, and they may know that they may recognize someone's voice or they know a certain customer, but if that person's off, then how do you as you say, you can't scale a business when you've got inefficiencies in place.
Yeah, look, the amount of times you say, look, I'm going to hook up, I'm going to go see a wholesaler. Today's a good day. It's a quiet day. Can I come and speak to you about your business? And they, that morning, I'm sorry, someone's called in sick. The driver's gone, the truck's off the road, and they're back on the tools, and so that loop just continually goes on where they can only do what they can do. And look, fair enough. Some people are just happy with that in life. But you can improve that scenario for them through automation. And I think, I don't know, I'm not a big tech head. I like it. I'm not a big gamer or anything. I didn't have an interest in it, but I knew that system.
There had to be a better way.
Yeah, system. If you're just obviously the business has to have systems first. There's got to be rules. There's got to be a system in place, and then you can automate things. So that's when you can walk away and you've automated a certain area, and you can work on the next area. So that look, being a founder, a startup, even in a startup fruit and veg wholesaler, you might have 10 customers today, but you just got to sit there and wait for those 10 chefs that you do a good job on to move to another 10 restaurants and then facilitate that. And it can take, your 5-year plan. And so patience, again, coming back to this patience and just being, listening and spending that time is a wonderful thing for the human soul, for your own personal growth is to, like I say to a lot of people, or my wife especially, but
we just want everything yesterday. It's like, why do we have to wait?
Yeah, well, doing your 10,000 hours makes you an expert in anything, is what I say. And so whether that's a delivery driver, as a dish pig, as I've done it all. I've done my 10,000 hours all through it, and that builds confidence in yourself to make these decisions when you've got it. You know that you're doing the right thing, and I think that's where as a founder, you got to have the experience. You've got to experience it yourself, and it makes that decision to step up a lot easier.
Well, it makes the decisions that you make sense as well. I mean, you don't want to be too close to it, but you want to be far enough away. I mean, it kind of sounds to me like you're a bit of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's a dangerous thing to be entrepreneur. You got to, especially if you're using other people's money. You got to back yourself, and you got to know that there's a problem there, and you've got a solution for it. You can't, and look, there's been many dark times between 2010 and 2018, where, wow, will this take off? Am I doing something? Am I solving something for one person, myself, that had that problem? And then do all these other successful businesses not have this problem? So maybe it's just my experience of what I'm doing. But working in the industry, you knew that everyone was striving for a better way to do it, and that technology is part of all of our future, the digitization of economies, and systems and businesses. And so that gave us confidence to kind of put some money behind it, put a team together, find the right developer. Obviously, having a developer onshore is the only way to ensure that you get a product. Look, I've been told around software, you can spend $10 million, and I'm going to be crude here. You can spend $10 million and have the best teams on it. But if the team doesn't work right, you can have a hot, steaming pile of dung and have spent $10 million. So there's a lot of luck involved. That you cross your I's, dot your T's, you can work with the person that you've employed, you're getting the right results, and we're talking about the same thing. So, and that, again, that's all time, the learning curve of onboarding a developer, understanding this industry, how it all works. For a bloke who does computers, how do they understand what happens at night in a chef, and what the chef wants a recurring order, and he wants small zucchinis and large zucchinis, and can't it just be one product? No, there's a million tomatoes, so all that stuff that took years and years to do, now that knowledge is embedded in the software, and you're so thankful, and so that's where Zupply is industry specific from that input, but also our customer base. I mean, tech companies rely on feedback. I've told you before, Venessa, we can sit in a room and design a solution to any that we think is the right solution, but then you go to market, you give it to a chef, they go, oh, well, it needs this and it needs that. And when I was a wholesaler, I used to go, shut up, I'll do it my way. But now as a tech, you go, well, that's the user experience. You got to listen to the feedback or you'll get nowhere.
And you've got to be agile, right? Like, you've got to be able to change. There is nothing that is bespoke enough. Like, you've got to be bespoke. You've got to be able to personalize it to the needs of the customer, because everyone is so different in this industry.
Yeah. We're all doing
that makes it difficult.
we're all just doing the same thing. It's just that we've all got opinions of how it should be done. And so that can be the tricky bit. And so that's a big thing in our business, is when we're speaking to prospective clients or wholesalers, is so show us how you run your business, and then we'll show you how supply does the same thing, but we automate it through these ways. So we're all doing the same thing. And that's where wholesalers, do gain trust in our product, is that we can draw the line between what they're doing, how we do it, and why it makes sense to them. And so that's some of the fun part of the business, is, talking to these wholesalers and, going, wow, I've got a solution for you. I can't wait for you to get on it. Then, you can have, your wife can have the weekends off. They won't have to be doing that anymore. They won't have to be doing, I don't think they get it until it's actually 6 months after they're on the product. They're like, our lives have changed. We've digitized our business. We've got the return on investment that we've spent, and now we're more flexible. We can spend time in the right part, the business owner can spend the time on the business that needs to be spent, not back on the tools, managing things, pen and paper wise. So it's exciting.
So the business can kind of, whether it be the wholesaler or the end user, it's kind of like it's all set as long as the information's correct. It's really just connecting the needs together and delivering what somebody wants.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds so simple, but I'm sure it's absolutely not. So then do you class yourself as a tech business or a food business?
We're a tech business specializing in the food industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We don't go after electrical wholesalers. They're doing the same thing. They've got massive amounts of inventory, orders going out. They need to get them out. They need the orders coming in. But my background isn't in that business. So we're definitely, within it's the food industry specific features within the app, in the order, are specific to the food industry. So we'll always just be, I love this industry. I've been doing it for 20 years. It's a really, I think, it comes with a bad name, a bad rap, that we're just, wholesalers, that you just get an order, you put it on the truck and off you go. What's so complicated about it? But I mean, the amount of people and moving cogs within just getting one order from one chef through a wholesaler to their restaurant by 9 a.m. the next morning, it's difficult stuff. It's hard work. And the people that do it well. And the people that can't do it, they're out of business very soon.
Yeah. And I think that there's a much better understanding from the operator side of the industry for the supply chain as well. I mean, one can't survive without the other. And where it used to be a bit of a dictatorship, to me feels like it's changing to becoming a collaboration. Yep. There has to be trust, and there has to be that communication between a supplier and an operator in order for it to work.
Yeah.
So where do you guys fit within that? Do you work as, like, how does that work?
In the relationship between, say, a chef and a wholesaler, we only facilitate. Look, there's the influx of marketplaces into the industry recently, and they've always been there. There's been the market boomer and that kind of stuff for 30 years now, obviously. But our business plan is that
I used to hate market boomer, just quietly. I actually feel really bad saying that out loud, but it used to do my head in.
Yeah, complicated, looked like an Excel spreadsheet. But so we our business plan is to, and I hate to say this, the end users, but it's a very transient industry, the hospitality industry. Chefs come and go, businesses come and go, but the wholesalers are always there. And so we really concentrate on running their business, building efficiencies into their business for long-term stability of their business. Means that we do business with them for 10 years and not a cafe for a week or two. But coupled with that, obviously their business is venues and chefs. And so we need to facilitate their customers' experience and make sure that the chef does have all the products available to him, that he can order in the cool room, that he can run reports on his buying and his costs and his price variances, because they need to operate. If they're operating well on the back of our wholesalers' tech, then obviously it fills the line for us as well and keeps a sticky customer on our platform for long term. And that's the strategy behind the whole wholesaler-centric platform.
So do you think that the mindset is becoming a lot more open to the idea of bringing technology into a business? Because a lot of venues are still working from spreadsheets, and a lot of operators are still working really from answering machines and rep calls, etc. So it's kind of one of those things that they like to hold close. It seems like if we let it go, it's going to destroy us. I
think, look, you know, that we call that the business IP, the intellectual property. Everyone's very proud of the businesses they've bought, that they've built, you know, that it's their intellectual property. When you go from one wholesaler, like I say, or a cafe, they're all doing the same thing, but they've all got their own intellectual property, and that's what they hold dear and they're proud of. And I think that's where we've got a lot of work to do over the next, 5 years to build that trust with the base. And I think that's going to be built through our customization. We customize to customers, what they need. If it's tweaking a report, if it's just adding in a number or a flag here, or anything that just makes them feel like we're listening to you, really gains that trust and that relationship. And so, like I say, it might be an interface, tech interface, but definitely it's just a traditional business. There's people, there's accounting, there's marketing, there's, it's all the same. It's just through a tech product. So you've got to be able to build those relationships, and then that's where you get the trust for them to come on. But Dubai, I think it's mandated that all businesses must digitally transition in the next 5 years. I think there needs to be more done by the government to educate and facilitate the transition. Obviously, if businesses are more profitable through automation, then there's more security around jobs.
Look, I think that it'll organically start to happen, regardless of whether government supports it or not. I mean, at the end of the day, businesses are like, COVID has really created a lot of disruption where businesses have looked at what they're doing and the processes and what they have in place. And it's given them the time to really look. And there's so much noise out there that if you're able to fill an actual need or have a solution, they've got the time at the moment to listen, which is kind of good. You never get that normally.
That's right.
And I think that going back out there in, post this period when businesses just go boom, it'll be a while really before they'll have a chance to probably stop again for a while.
That's very true. Yeah. But the noise is a problem.
The noise is a problem. It's just too much, chefs like to look and feel and touch and smell and, be able to connect to something. So the noise is a problem.
Yeah, and look, making sure that, again, that their lives are a little bit easier. So that's where we've fleshed out and that's great. One of the things I'm most pleased about where we are as a business is that we've built the product, and now it's about optimizing. The thing we use in our business a lot is just get it working, and then we'll optimize it. So, like I say, don't sit and try and dev it out. Get it working, get the feedback, and get going. And then it's customized to the actual situation. And that's the agility of the way we tech or dev. But we want to concentrate on facilitating the user experience of the venues. So making sure that they've got all their orders in one place, all their wholesalers in one place. They've got live pricing information, live communication from their wholesalers around products, surges or availability or specials. And so that's where we're going to, and, you know, integrating on that side of things with their POS, so that their POS system's got live inventory and pricing, so that their menu costings live. You know, if you...
Do you build all that into your app?
We integrate with POSs, the sense, obviously we've got the live invoicing data, the wholesaler data. So if anyone needs it, they can pull it any time, with the permission of the wholesaler, obviously. But that's going to be a big trend in the next 5 years. And look, before COVID hit, look, the industry's at a standstill. But, you know, to have transparency across a retail outlet, you know, a hospitality outlet, is very important for profitability. It's crazy the way the industry's run for forever. I mean, if I bought my background's not in cafes and restaurants, but if I was a restaurant owner and I'm sitting there watching the plates go out, I would just count the plates, and I want to know that the chef knows exactly what he's making per plate. That's where it comes down to. If not, those variable food costs, you know, will just kill you. You're literally just sending food out for nothing. So that's where we need to flesh out our product over the next couple of years, and we've got a solution to that now that we're working with.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So
your end goal is to kind of become that entire procurement platform, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you see it sort of morphing also into where, if it's going into the point of sale, you know, into that area, a push of the button and it can tell exactly how much stock you've got on hand. It'd help with your stock take. So it is a real benefit to an operator to look at the way that their inventory is sitting.
Yeah, totally. Because we all know what's inventory. Inventory is not inventory, it's cash.
It's cash, yeah.
Cash.
And how much excess stock you've got as well. So from a turnover perspective, it's like, well, what you need to use up as well. It's kind of that at a glance view, right?
Well, also if you're operating, if you're the inventory controller or, you know, manager of multiple venues, and you can log into Zupply now shops and see across all your venues that beans have hit $100 this week. Wouldn't you'd have a backup menu there without beans? Wouldn't you be, you know, telling chefs off the beans this week, boys, what can we do? Boys and girls, you know, let's switch it up. So live data is key. You got to use the data that's hand. If you're ignoring that and just plowing through, then geez, you know, where's that business end up in, in a few years? And it's the same old sad story that, you know, when they go belly up, is that we didn't know our food costs. We didn't know.
Oh yeah. Don't even get me started on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to say that I think that the general consensus that I'm seeing from chatting and talking is that there is at least a drive now to really be able to look at the food costs and understand it. And I don't know whether it's that people or businesses, I just genuinely don't believe that people know how to work out food costs.
Yeah.
Let alone bring in yields and bring in, you know, all of the wastage, your GST, like they just, it's like, well, where did you get your price from? Well, I got it from, you know, my competitor. Well, where did the competitor get it from? Well, they probably got it from theirs. So no one really knows what anything costs when it goes on a plate.
Yeah, that's correct. Exactly right. Then your electricity into it, whatever it may be fluctuating. So again, the live data is a very important, you know, facility. And look, we're speaking to a few of the big POS systems to kind of be that player. And look, everyone wants to be there, but I think we're working with a couple of good groups at the moment, big pubs and clubs that, you know, want this transparency. You know, they need control points. If you've got 20 venues, you know, you want to make sure, and you've negotiated a price with a wholesaler, you want to make sure that then the chef orders it. Yeah, it doesn't just go off the product list and order what he thinks was right for that night. So just putting in those control points for the business owners is a stabilizing feature for the industry moving forward, to have control points, you know.
So where did you come up with Zupply?
The name.
Yeah.
My business partner came up. Hi, Adrian, you there? With the
I'm
name.
not too sure if he is. I can't see him. I don't know who's online. And your frame, just in case you're wondering why I'm not looking at you, your frame keeps freezing. So I keep on looking over at the actual Facebook,
Oh, right.
so I can see you're actually talking.
Okay. Yeah, the name came from some the boys that were tasked with setting up the original build, and they came up with the name and the branding and that kind of stuff. And we actually had wholesale as the business name originally, and then we had a product called QuickGen, quickly generate invoices. That was the one we went to market with, but it was an app. It wasn't a software solution. Apps can't run businesses, you know. So that's where we fleshed out, and Zupply was born.
And how long have you been alive for?
Look, like I said, we built that QuickGen in 2010, probably got that 2011, played with that till 2013, and then went back and devved out Zupply. That took 2 years, probably 2 years too long. And so we got it 2015, 16 type stuff. And look, like I say, there was a lot of work to do, just the bare bones of it. And so just then we were showing it to wholesalers, starting to talk about, there was a bit more talk about there could be products. See, these wholesalers, they use MYOB. Zero. They're accounting packages. They're not business operating systems. They're not built to manage shelf life or high turnover of products, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So, and like I say, my brother-in-law with the asbestos removal opened my eyes to integration and building a operating system that could plug into an accounting system and give a solution to the industry. So that's where that kind of, that we got to market about 2016. And then we were very lucky to, we had a couple of early adopters up the North Coast, some fantastic wholesalers still on the platform to this day. It was great to kind of roll it out regionally and get that feedback outside of Sydney.
How did that work? Because how did the regional areas adopt that technology piece?
Oh, look, I was up there every week, Coffs Harbour, driving up and down the M1. Just, you know,
that would have been joyful.
Yeah, you know, just yeah, thinking back now is, yeah. But the energy of starting something and, you know, hoping it works, and customers going online and the orders coming through, and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
It was probably a good test launch pad, really.
Yeah, it was really good. And then we hooked up with MD Providores, you know, late 2016, and look, a significant wholesaler in the Sydney markets. And even though my background kind of, we knew what we needed, it gave us the opportunity to work closely with a business to make sure they were comfortable with everything that we were offering. And we really tailored a lot of reports and the way they do their business to that business, keeping it generalized or standardized through that. But and that's, yeah, we got to market with our first significant wholesaler was MD Providores.
It's pretty cool. So I'm looking at it here. So Zupply clients are able to process 30% more orders per day. What does that represent? What does that mean?
So straight away, say we'll use MDs as an example. If you've got 400 orders coming through the system, but prior to Zupply, there was 4 people taking the orders, writing them out, compiling spreadsheets, getting to market. Then you had to put those into delivery runs, sort all the orders. Straight away there, 2 hours, sorting 400 pieces of paper. It takes time. So, and then we have within the system, so a warehouse is set up. You've got all your products in the warehouse. We map out the warehouse. We find where all the products are. And then so the picking slips print in that order, so that your team's walking around the warehouse in an orderly manner and not crisscross, do this, that kind of stuff. So that saved them 3 hours a day straight off the bat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's actually quite a lot to it. It's not just like it's just a so you actually go and test this.
Yeah.
And map out businesses. So it's almost like putting a plate of food together and how many steps are involved to be able to compile that dish.
Yeah. I mean, see, some wholesalers, they don't pack that way. They just want to pack boxes first, kilos seconds, punnets thirds, you know, however it may be. A butcher wants it to be split up into cutting rooms and freezer rooms and, deli rooms. So everyone's doing, we customize it so that we want the return on investment straight away. And there's no investment in Zupply. We bring you on for $1,500. That's nothing. Bringing to then to the end of the first week or 2 weeks, they just look around and go, wow, where trucks are out 2 hours earlier. Well, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to sort that paper. It's all sorted. The boys are walking around quicker. We've packed the orders quicker. Straight away, they're engaged, and then we can start talking about really automating buying, purchasing, staff management, reporting, and then their eyes are open to it, and they get to flex out the product and get the return on investment, like I say.
It's actually really interesting that you say that, because it's probably a really good place to start. When you look at the research behind the psychology of the industry that we work in, that instant recognition is really important, and that quick win. So if customers are able to see that instant save or that instant reward, if you like, it would kind of open their eyes up to, well, if that's a start, where to next?
Look, Venessa, while I was building Zupply, I went and did a bit of study for the first time in my life. And, through there, one of the subjects was change management. And then the hardest thing, one of the things within change management is obviously the politics in a business. Digital change, any kind of change in business is, unless there's a leader leading it and they've got buy-in from the team, it's never going to change. You can try and change something and then the Luddites will just make sure it breaks and they all fall back to how they're doing it before. So so the return, the reward, the real quick reward can really quash those voices that are resisting.
That's really interesting. That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, if you don't have those early wins, then the voices grow and they just want to default back to what they know. You've got churn. You haven't rolled it out. You've got a project that's fallen over. So look, and so I'm always amazed with the teams and the transition, the onboarding week. Rather than highlighting, so it's a hard line to say that, look, we're going to introduce this product and it's going to improve the way you do things. And everyone looks at you and go, well, we do it okay, mate. We don't need your help. Who are you trying to tell us we do? And I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm saying you're great, highly skilled teams. Let's automate some stuff so then you can apply those skills to the product or to the client or somewhere else. Redeploy it. Don't do the manual stuff. Let us take care of the manual stuff, automate it. And you can use those skills to why that you've got that employee for checking the edible flowers, for making sure the chives are good, or making sure the cut of the fish is right, the right weight, the right portion, skin off, whatever it may be. So, getting that, the change, digital change, business change is probably where there's a lot of resistance, as I touched on before, that the resistance to digital change is because of that IP. They don't want to change, and it's for anyone, it's hard. If someone came in here tomorrow and say, look, mate, we're going to do this differently, you're over here, I resist it as well. Everyone resists it, and so then you throw politics into it. It's a hard project to manage.
But you are managing it and you are creating change, and you've kind of got to be proud of where you started in 2010 to what you've kind of created today. And it's not so much the business model. I mean, business models come and go. It's having the ideas and having the ability to see the big picture.
Yeah.
And the perseverance, right? I mean, you obviously saw a need, you went after it, and you made it happen.
Yeah. Look, it's whether it's the gambling nature of my having a gamble, but like I say, it's backed by those 10,000 hours of experience in each department. Like any business owner, any cafe owner, they're They've done the 10,000 hours on the barista machine. They've done the 10,000 hours washing up. They've done the 10,000 hours at the front of house. So you're talking, the 10 years experience there. And that encourages you or empowers you to make the decision. Well, I can go out on my own and do it this way. So it comes naturally if you put in the time and the work,
So the unique offering that Zupply offers is that is all of those things that you've talked about wrapped up in one. It's really driving that efficiency and profitability and streamlining a process.
Yeah. So as I explained to people, in the future, it'll be clear who's digitized and who's not through cost. So your cost to serve is reduced. So if someone's not digitized and they haven't got automation in their business, what should be selling at $10 will need to be sold at $13. And the people that are digitized, they can do it at $10. So you're not going to be able to survive because you simply just can't meet the unless you're running, you're happy to run it at a loss. I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there that do it, but it'll become the contrast between digitized business and undigitized business will be stark in the future. Yeah.
So talk to me about cash flow. So Zupply clients improved cash flow, 90% payments were made within their terms. How do you regulate that?
So
without giving away, obviously.
No, well, it's very simple. I mean, look, and this back in 2013, this is, back then, people will pay by credit cards. No, they won't. No one's going to pay by credit card.
Okay.
No one's going to pay up front. They wholesale cafes and restaurants. And look, this is a touchy point. The relationship between wholesalers and their customers. The wholesaler wants the business. He's happy to give credit terms, but then, it blows out, it blows out, it blows out, and they're using your money as a bank to kind of bankroll their business. So simply having payment options. So COVID really, a lot of wholesalers got caught with their pants down. And it was a time they all decided as a whole that it's time to have that conversation with their customers and say, look, respecting the grower that grew this tomato, I can't afford to give it to you unless I get paid today, because if you don't pay me, I can't pay him. And how does he grow it? And so there's a supply, having that
supply chain management.
Yeah. And just having the conversation that it's more than just you getting your tomato. Someone's grown it, someone's packed it, someone's delivered it. And then we're going to hold the money for 6 weeks when you've got it in your till that night. Needed to be a discussion between the wholesaler and the hospitality industry. And then COVID hit. And so now it's a very unstable time for everyone, isn't it? I mean, what's going to happen to the industry? We're going to probably have 80% people come back, 80% of businesses, 20% might be gone for a few years until there's stability where people are empowered to go and open a business again and take up those closed venues.
Well, I don't even think we're going to be sitting in venues until December, according to the webinar I was just on, which was that recovery webinar. And the timeline is looking like we won't be actually sitting in venues, inside venues, until December.
Okay, and that's double vaxxed. Yeah.
Well, look, it isn't. That will be the timeline when we'll hit the 80% double vax, and then whether venues regulate whether they take in customers that haven't been double vaxxed or not will come down to the venue. But our industry will start that recovery phase, it looks like, in early December.
But Venessa, I mean, as a cafe and restaurateur, unless there was clear guidelines on that, opening back up, unless the government said there's not going to be any lockdowns again, they don't want to restaff, put people on staff, buy stock in, and then tomorrow be shut down again. I mean, I think it's going to be slower than just because people are allowed to go. How do we know? Look, I'm hearing stories. Restaurants probably are making more money now when they know that
some are. Some are.
Well, coming out of it, might just say, well, look, we're only doing 10 covers on Friday and Saturday night. I only need one staff member for that and one chef. It covers the rent, the food costs, and we're happy with it. Why would we go back to 10 staff, packing out the door, people not turning up? So look, I think there's going to be some change, and that'll be led by the hospitality, who are the creatives of our industry. They'll lead that. But yeah, I don't think it's as simple. But anyway, back to the cash flow. So wholesalers now have the ability to say, look, I don't have terms with you. Can you pay up front on credit card? Or we have direct debit capabilities where we say, look, we'll direct debit your account every 7, 14, 21 days, whatever it may be. And then, you know, the wholesaler has control over whether he serves them if the payment fails. So just giving a bit of power back to the wholesalers to get that cash flow up, to get that cash flow in, so that they can forecast in their business what they can do, you know. But sitting around waiting for the money to come through the door is a thing of the bygone era. You know, it needs to be automated payments.
And in your graph that I've got in my background here, you've got logistics. And what does that represent?
So we have so what happens is we obviously, shops, we call them shops, venues, have a location. They've got a longitude and latitude. So our wholesalers, the orders come in the morning, we manage the delivery runs. They can quickly update delivery runs or have them preset. And the driver jumps in the truck. He's got a route optimization, proof of delivery, sign on there. So there's proof of delivery against the invoice. And the customers can see in the app where their delivery is. So logistic management, helping the drivers get through the day, so that if one of your drivers sick and you need to jump in the truck, you've never done the run before, you can just turn on the phone, off you go. It'll tell you how to do the delivery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, the natural end of our product is to have that logistics capability in there. Because like I say, that's one of the hardest things for wholesalers, you know, is that making sure the drivers turn up every day. You can lose customers. Someone's sick, you got a busy day, and it's the chef said, if you're not here by 10 o'clock tomorrow, don't bother coming back, you know. And like I say, it happens. They come in the morning, the fridge blows, the truck driver's gone, you've got to do this, you know, you lose the customer. So, you know, where you could bring your dad up, say, here, jump in the truck, here's the app, off you go, you know, giving some safeguards around logistics.
And in terms of researching and keeping up to date with what the customer needs are, do you go out and visit operators and wholesalers and just watch their operations and see where there are other opportunities?
Not really. It's really comes when we have a prospective client come on and do a demo, and they'll say, oh, well, look, this is something is a must have to come on the platform, or this would be a nice to have. And then in our dev team, we create a card, we talk about it, and then we prioritize development. We'll always be developing our product. And like I say, it's that feedback loop that makes your product better and better and better. And so listening to people is the main point. But we've just moved into manufacturing. So, you know, getting granular.
Explain that to me. So you're working with manufacturers to supply chain, or? Yep.
So chicken manufacturers, pre-made meals, they need to run reports on, you know, orders come through for 3 pallets of, you know, cooked lamb leg or, you know, crumb chicken schnitzel. You know, you need to know, you need the costings, you need the ingredients, you need the ingredients reports, you need the manufacturing report, you need to purchase the stock that's not on hand, you know. So supply does full manufacturing capability. And the same with fruit and vegetables. If you've got a 5 kilo bag of stir fry, you know, what's in the stir fry? You know, there's a kilo of diced carrot, there's a kilo of bok choy, there's a kilo of sliced onion, there's a kilo. So where's that come from? A raw product. And so the buyer has to buy the raw product. He doesn't buy the sliced onion. So you managing all that from end to end is the big difference between us and any other platform out there.
Wow.
All in one.
And you got John McFadden on as an ambassador, I've seen.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, look, John was the head chef at the University and Schools Club back 2000 when I worked for Matt Brown, and I've been watching his career ever since then. A real gentleman of the industry. And look, we just, since we've got the Supply Chefs app, where we're, any venue can use it as a ordering facility for their venues, invite their wholesalers, and they got it all in the one app. And John's we needed someone that's hospo, but also corporate enough, and also relatable enough, and respected, and just he ticked all those boxes. So great to have him on the team. Wonderful guy, and just his enthusiasm and his knowledge really helps us understand that side of the customer base.
Yeah, and that's actually really important. And he definitely does understand the industry inside out. He's a master of the whole supply and food costs and product and plate costs, etc. And who else is in the business? Who else can you introduce?
Well, we've got the biggest star of the business is Chris Gin. He's the lead developer. The clean, basic, simple but powerful development he does. Like I say, you can go, you got clients, it's simple, it's user friendly. He never develops anything where a user could make a mistake.
Okay.
So always, no, you can't do that. This customer will get confused. So, and that takes the headspace of a genius to understand all that in code. So he was the greatest find for Zupply. He's been with us 5 years now, and the product's really his, and he's built his dev team, what he needs. So look, he's the superstar. But then we've got a couple of BDMs. Kelly takes care of the shops and the cafes. So when a wholesaler comes on, she goes and sees the cafes, the restaurants, make sure they know how to use the product, how to do it, and then obviously tells them they can invite their other wholesalers and follows up that loop. Then myself and I do all the onboarding for wholesalers, and that's where we've got a couple of representatives in Queensland and Victoria that kind of manage those point of contacts down there. But at this
you are national as well.
Yeah.
Are you international at all? Are you in New Zealand or anything?
No, we're looking at
phase 3.
Phase 3, North America. 1% of that market's big enough than what we've got here. So the thing there is taxes. Every county's got a different tax rate and that kind of stuff. So a bit of a challenge there, but we'll get there. But the real opportunity for supply over the next 3 to 12 months is we're focusing again on supporting our wholesalers and them supporting their customers out of this period. And, really ensuring what we've got an app coming out called Communities, where like-minded wholesalers can share their customer bases and really look after and cross-promote to that shared customer base, and make sure that that customer base is getting the best quality, price, product, and therefore ensuring customer retention for those wholesalers. Instead of, and so really building buying groups, so that everyone's profitable, everyone's making money, is the strength to growing a big cluster of businesses. And that's where we're putting a lot of effort in over the next 12 months with the help of our wholesalers, I must say.
Well, that's pretty exciting. That's a whole lot happening.
Yeah.
I think I've asked you. I think I've asked you 1,000 million questions now.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty clear on exactly what you do. And so how do people get in contact with you, or how do people reach out?
Just go online, submit a demo, off we go. We call them in 5 minutes. Anyone comes to our site, we know about them. We chase you up and say, look, get online. What are you doing? That's the best way, Venessa. Yourself, talk to people straight away, qualify the sale. Look, what are you doing?
I'm just not real good at that piece.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but if you don't, you got to qualify them. If they're not ready for change, you can just waste each other's time. So, talking to people, showing them how we do it, and then them saying, oh yeah, well, I think this would work for us, is the best part of the business. It's a great thing. So a live demo is the quickest way to find out if anyone's interested in the product.
And John's just shared the link actually on the chat. So that's really good. Thank you, John.
Always
All
working.
right, my friend. Well, it's been good chatting to you.
Thanks, Vanessa.
You enjoying life up on the Central Coast? Looks like
yeah.
you've got a nice outlook out the back of your window there.
Yeah, that's work. Cleaning the pool never stops, especially with all the pollen in the air. So yeah, work. It's all good.
Oh, well, at least it keeps your, you know what? It's amazing how much you can think while you're outside doing physical activity.
It's very true. Yeah, you need to think through things while you're doing something else.
You haven't seen any early snakes yet?
No, I just burnt it all off the vegetation that would create a problem before they come out. But not at this point. We get a few pythons in the chicken coops, but they're friendly enough. We call them Monty, and off they go. Yeah.
I love that. Well, that's beautiful. Well, thank you again. And it was really nice to learn more about your business and whose supply is and what you guys do. And thanks for sharing.
No, pleasure. Love what you do as well, Vanessa. So
Thanks.
appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
No, awesome. All right. And thanks everyone online. Thanks, John, for sharing that link. That was amazing. And I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Okay, bye.
Out.